The metal hull of the research ship Meridian groaned as it moved through the endless darkness of space. Captain Zara Vex stood on the bridge watching the broken pieces of an old ship float past the windows. Her green skin glowed softly in the dim light. She was tall and thin like all her people from the planet Altair. Her long fingers tapped against the control panel as she studied the debris field. "Captain, we found something big," called out Dr. Keth Moreland from his station. His voice was excited but careful. The doctor had been searching through the wreckage for 3 weeks now. Most of what they found was junk. Broken metal, dead computers, and empty fuel tanks from a human colony ship that died 300 years ago. But this was different. "What is it, Doctor?" Captain Vex asked. She walked across the bridge to look at his screen. The image showed a large white pod floating among the debris. It was smooth and clean, unlike everything else they had found. "It appears to be a cryo sleep chamber," Dr. Moreland said. His long blue fingers danced across the controls to get a better view. "And Captain, someone is inside it. Someone alive." The bridge went quiet. Everyone stopped what they were doing to look at the screen. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Blake stepped forward. He was the only human on the ship. His ancestors had escaped from Earth before it fell apart. Now humans were rare. In the galaxy, most lived quiet lives on peaceful worlds. "Are you sure it's alive?" Ryan asked. His voice was soft with wonder. Finding another human from the old days was like finding treasure. Dr. Moreland ran more scans. Numbers and charts filled his screen. "Yes, very sure. The pod is still working. Life support is active. Brain activity is minimal but present. This person has been sleeping for over 3 centuries. Captain Vex felt her heart race. This was huge. Humans from before the Great Collapse were legends now. Story said they were different from modern humans, stronger, tougher, more dangerous, but most people thought those were just tailies. "We need to bring it aboard," she said. "Captain, the Council has rules about waking up ancient species," said Commander Vel Torn from the navigation station. He was a cautious Corvan with gray skin and small black eyes. "We should report this first." "The rules are for extinct species," Captain Vex replied. "Humans are not extinct. Ryan is proof of that." Ryan nodded. "My people would want us to save him. Or her, we don't know which yet." Captain Vex made her choice. "Doctor, prepare the medical bay. Commander Torn, bring us alongside that pod." "We're bringing our sleeping friend aboard." The Meridian moved slowly through the debris field. Captain Vex watched as her crew worked to capture the cryopod. It was bigger than she expected, almost 3 meters long and 1 meter wide. The surface was covered in frost, but she could see through a small window. Inside was the shape of a person. "Got it," announced Chief Engineer Lisa Carter from the cargo bay. "Pod is secure. Moving to medical now." In the medical bay, Dr. Moreland ran every scan he could think of. The readings were amazing. "Captain, this human is in perfect condition." "Better than perfect?" The cryo systems preserved everything. "No damage from the long sleep." "What about the pod itself? Can we wake them up safely?" Captain Vex asked. "The pod is old but well built. Human technology from 300 years ago. Was crude but effective. Yes, I believe we can revive the occupant without harm." Ryan pressed his face against the viewing window of the pod. Inside he could see a man with dark hair and strong features. Even sleeping, the figure looked powerful. His shoulders were broad and his arms were thick with muscle. "He looks like a soldier," Ryan said quietly. "All humans from that time were soldiers in some way," Dr. Moreland replied. "Earth was a hard world back then, wars over water, fights for food, climate disasters. Only the strong survived long enough to leave the planet." Captain Vex studied the sleeping human. Her people had heard stories about old Earth humans, how they fought with their bare hands, how they never gave up, how they protected their own no matter the cost. She wondered if the stories were true. "How long will it take to wake him up?" she asked. "The revival process is slow, 18 to 20 hours. We have to warm his body carefully. Restart his organs one by one. If we rush it, he could die." Then we start now, Captain Vex decided. Ryan, I want you here when he wakes up. You speak his language. You can help him understand where he is. Yes, Captain. Dr. Morland began the long process of bringing the ancient human back to life. He injected warming chemicals into the pod. He slowly increased the temperature. He monitored every heartbeat as the man's body came back from its long sleep. Hours passed. The crew took turns watching the pod. They had never seen anything like this before. Most of them had never even seen a human except for Ryan. And Ryan was different. He was born on a peaceful world. He studied books and wrote reports. He was gentle and calm. This sleeping man looked like he could break things with his hands. His brain activity is increasing, Dr. Morland reported after 12 hours. Body temperature is almost normal. Heart rate is strong, very strong. How? Strong? Captain Vex asked. Stronger than any human I have scanned before. His heart is like a powerful engine. His bones are thick and hard. His muscles are dense with power. This is not like modern humans at all. Ryan felt excited and nervous. What would this man be like? Would he be angry about being woken up? Would he understand that 300 years had passed? Would he be sad that his world was gone? Captain, Dr. Morland called out suddenly. Something is happening. They all rushed to the pod. Inside, the man's eyes were moving under his closed lids. His fingers twitched. His breathing changed from slow and deep to quick and alert. He's waking up, Ryan whispered. The pod made a soft hissing sound as it finished its cycle. Lights blinked from red to green. The lid began to open with a quiet click. Steam rose from inside the pod as warm air met cold metal. Through the mist, they could see the man's chest rise and fall. His eyes opened slowly. They were dark brown and very aware. Not confused like someone waking from a long sleep. Alert like someone ready for danger, the man sat up in the pod. Water dripped from his hair and skin. He looked around the medical bay with careful eyes. He saw the strange alien faces watching him. He saw the advanced equipment he did not recognize. He saw Ryan's familiar human features. Where am I? The man asked. His voice was rough from not being used, but clear and strong. Ryan stepped forward carefully. You're safe. My name is Ryan Blake. You've been asleep for 300 years. We found your pod floating in space. This is a research ship called the Meridian. The man studied Ryan's face. Then he looked at the others. Captain Vex could see him thinking fast. Processing information, making decisions. My name is Jake Morrison, he said finally. I was a sergeant in the Marine Corps. Last thing I remember was the evacuation ships leaving Earth orbit. Something went wrong with our ship. They put us in the pods and said help would come. He paused and looked directly at Captain Vex. How long did you say I was asleep? 300 years, she replied. Jake Morrison closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them again, there was sadness there, but also strength. Then everyone I knew is dead, he said quietly. Earth is gone. The evacuation failed. Not everyone, Ryan said gently. Some humans survived. We live on many worlds now. We're part of the Galactic Council. We have peace. Jake looked at Ryan again, really looked at him. Ryan was soft and clean. His hands were smooth. His clothes were neat and bright. He looked nothing like the humans Jake remembered. Peace, Jake repeated the word like it was strange to him. That's good. That's what we were fighting for. Dr. Morland approached with a medical scanner. I need to check if you're healthy after such a long sleep. Jake's hand moved faster than anyone expected. He caught the scanner before it could touch him. The device made a cracking sound in his grip. When he opened his hand, the scanner was crushed like paper. Everyone in the room took a step back. Jake looked at the broken scanner in surprise. Sorry, I didn't mean to break it. I'm still getting used to being awake, but Captain Vex saw something else in his eyes. Jake Morrison was not surprised by his own strength. He was surprised that they were surprised. This ancient human was far more powerful than any of them had imagined. The broken medical scanner lay in pieces on the floor. Jake Morrison stared at the crushed metal and plastic in his palm. The device had been solid and heavy just seconds before. Now it looked like someone had stepped on an empty can. I'm sorry about that, Jake said again. He looked up at the alien faces around him. They were all staring at him with wide eyes. These things used to be tougher back in my day. Dr. Moreland picked up the pieces with shaking hands. This scanner was made from titanium alloy. It should take several tons of pressure to damage it like this. Jake swung his legs over the side of the cryopod. His movements were smooth and easy despite sleeping for 3 centuries. Doc, I need to ask you something. How strong are humans supposed to be these days? Ryan Blake stepped closer, but kept his distance. Well, average human strength is about the same as it always was. We can lift maybe 50 to 70 pounds safely, 100 pounds if we train hard. 50 pounds? Jake looked confused. What about when you're in danger? When someone you care about needs help? We call for assistance, Ryan replied. We have machines and tools to help us. We don't need to be strong like our ancestors. Jake stood up from the pod. He was tall and broad. His muscles moved under his skin like thick cables. Water from the cryo process still dripped from his dark hair. That's smart, I guess. But what if the machines break? What if help doesn't come? Captain, Vex found her voice. We have backup systems for everything. The Galactic Council has peace treaties with all major species. Violence is rare. Peace is good, Jake said with a small smile. But peace only lasts when good people are strong enough to protect it. Dr. Moreland was examining the broken scanner with a magnifying device. Jake, would you mind if I ran some other tests? Nothing you need to hold. Just scanners from a distance. Go ahead, Doc. Just don't get too close with anything breakable. The doctor activated a wall-mounted scanner. Blue light washed over Jake's body. Numbers and charts appeared on screens around the medical bay. Dr. Moreland's eyes grew wider as he read the results. This is impossible, he whispered. What? Captain Vex asked. His bone density is 3 times normal human levels. His muscle fibers are packed tighter than any species I've ever studied. His heart could pump blood through a system twice his size, and his reflexes. Dr. Moreland paused to run the scan again. His reflexes test faster than our equipment can measure. Jake listened to this with interest. Is that bad? It's not bad, Ryan said carefully. It's just very different from modern humans. We've adapted to peaceful lives. We use our minds. More than our bodies. Smart, Jake nodded. But sometimes you need both. Captain Vex decided to change the subject. Jake, you must be hungry after 300 years. Would you like something to eat? Jake's stomach rumbled loudly in response. Yeah, that sounds great. Do you have any real food? Meat? Vegetables? Bread? We have food synthesizers that can make anything you want, Ryan explained. Just tell the computer what you'd like. They walked from the medical bay to the ship's DINING area. Jake moved with the easy confidence of a soldier. He noticed everything around him, the layout of the corridors, the locations of doors and windows, the faces of crew members they passed. Other crew members stopped to stare as they walked by. Word had spread quickly that they had woken up an ancient human. Most of them had never seen anything like Jake Morrison. He was bigger and more muscular than any human they knew. But it was more than that. He moved like a predator. Alert and ready. In the dining area, Jake sat at a table while Ryan showed him how to use the food synthesizer. Just speak clearly and tell it what you want, Ryan explained. Synthesizer, I want a steak, Jake said. Medium rare, with potatoes and green beans. The machine hummed for a moment. Then a plate appeared with exactly what he had ordered. The food looked and smelled perfect. Jake took a bite and smiled. Not bad, tastes real enough. He ate quickly and with good appetite. So, tell me about this Galactic Council. How many species are members? Over 200, Captain Vex replied. Humans joined about 100 years ago. We contribute art, literature, and scientific research. We're known as a peaceful and creative people. Creative, huh? Jake finished his steak and started on. The vegetables. What about protection? Who keeps the peace? Each species provides security forces for their own worlds, Ryan explained. The Council has peacekeeping ships for major disputes, but mostly we solve problems with words, not weapons, and that works. It has for over a century, Captain Vex said proudly. Jake nodded thoughtfully. That's really good. My generation fought wars over water and food. We dreamed of a time when talking could solve problems instead of shooting. Dr. Moreland joined them at the table. He carried a tablet full of test results. Jake, I've been studying your scans. I need to ask you some questions about your past. Sure, Doc. Were you genetically modified in any way? Enhanced by technology? Given special training or treatments? Jake laughed. Nothing like that. I was just a regular Marine from Detroit. My parents worked in a factory. I grew up poor and had to fight for everything I got. But surely you had special military training? Basic combat training, yeah. But nothing fancy. We learned to shoot, to fight with our hands, to carry heavy gear long distances. Standard stuff for soldiers. Dr. Moreland looked puzzled. According to these scans, you're physically superior to every species in the known galaxy. Your strength, speed, and endurance are off any chart I have. Maybe humans just got weaker over time? Jake suggested. When life gets easy, people don't need to be as tough. Captain Vex thought about this. You said you grew up fighting for everything. What was Earth like in your time? Jake's expression grew serious, hard. The climate wars had been going on for 50 years. Whole cities underwater from rising seas. Deserts where farms used to be, not enough clean water or food to go around. Countries fighting over what was left. That sounds terrible, Ryan said softly. It was, but it made us strong. You had to be tough to survive. You had to take care of your family and friends because no one else would. Every day was a test. And the evacuation ships? Captain Vex asked. Earth was dying. The government built ships to carry people to other worlds. The first ships took the rich folks, the scientists, the politicians. My ship was supposed to carry workers and soldiers. People who could build new colonies. On hard worlds, Jake paused to take a drink of water. But something went wrong with our ship's engines. We were still in the outer system when everything started shutting down. The captain ordered everyone into cryosleep. Saw rescue ships would find us. But no rescue came, Ryan said sadly. Guess not, or maybe it came too late. Jake looked out the dining area window at the stars. How many people made it off Earth? About 50 million, Captain Vex replied. They settled on dozens of worlds. Modern human colonies are peaceful and prosperous. 50 million out of 8 billion, Jake said quietly. We saved less than 1%. The table went silent. Everyone thought about the billions of people who had died when Earth finally collapsed. But the ones who made it built something good, Ryan said. No wars, no hunger, no fighting over resources? Jake smiled sadly. That's what we always hoped for. Makes it worth it, knowing it worked out. Dr. Moreland cleared his throat. Jake, I'd like to run some physical tests tomorrow. Nothing dangerous, just to understand your capabilities better. What kind of tests? Strength measurements. Reaction time, endurance, we have training equipment you could try? Jake shrugged. Sure, Doc, but I should warn you. I haven't had a real workout in 300 years. I might be a little rusty. Captain Vex and Ryan exchanged glances. If Jake was rusty now, what would he be like at full strength? I should also warn you about something else, Jake continued. Back on Earth, Marines like me were trained for one thing above all others. What's that? Captain Vex asked. Protecting people who can't protect themselves, Jake said simply. It's what we do. It's who we are. So, if trouble comes looking for this ship or these people, don't expect me to stay out of the way. The alien captain felt a chill run down her spine. She was beginning to understand that Jake Morrison was not just a strong human from the past. He was something much more dangerous and valuable. He was a warrior who had been sleeping for 3 centuries, waiting for someone to need him again. The next morning, Jake Morrison stood in the ship's exercise room looking at the training equipment. The room was large and clean with white walls and bright lights. Machines for lifting weights lined one wall. A running track curved around the outer edge. Everything looked advanced and expensive. Dr. Moreland entered carrying his scanning equipment. This time he kept the devices at a safe distance. "Good morning, Jake. Ready for some tests?" "Sure thing, Doc. What do you want me to try first?" Captain Vex and Ryan Blake came in behind the doctor. Word had spread through the ship that the ancient human was going to demonstrate his strength. Half the crew found excuses to walk past the exercise room windows. "Let's start simple," Dr. Moreland said. He pointed to a weight-lifting machine. "This is calibrated for the strongest species we know. The maximum setting is 500 pounds. Jake walked over to examine the machine. It was built like a tank, with thick metal cables and heavy plates. Looks solid enough. "What am I supposed to do with it?" "Just a basic lift. We want to measure your maximum strength." Jake sat on the bench and grabbed the handles. The machine was set to 50 pounds. He lifted it easily. "Should I go higher?" "Yes, keep going until it feels difficult." Jake moved the setting to 100 pounds. Still easy. 200, 300. The weights clanged as he lifted them without effort. Other crew members pressed against the windows to watch. "How does 500 feel?" Dr. Moreland asked. Jake lifted the maximum weight like it was nothing. "Feels light, Doc. You got anything heavier?" Dr. Moreland checked his readings. "According to my scans, you're not even trying. Your heart rate is barely elevated. Want me to push harder?" "Wait," Captain Vex said quickly. "That machine is connected to the ship's structure. If you break it, you might damage the hull." Jake let go of the handles. "Sorry, I forget how delicate things are these days." Ryan stepped forward. "Jake, how much could you lift back on Earth?" "Depends on the situation. In training, I could bench press about 400 pounds. But in combat, when people needed help, I could do a lot more. Adrenaline is a hell of a thing." 400 pounds was your normal strength?" Dr. Moreland looked amazed. "That machine was supposed to challenge you. Like I said, I might be rusty." "Captain." Vex decided to try something different. "What about speed?" "We have a reaction timer here." The reaction timer was a simple device. Lights would flash and Jake had to hit buttons as quickly as possible. The current record holder was a Corvin pilot with reflexes fast enough to fly fighter ships. Jake sat at the machine. "How does this work?" "Just hit the buttons when they light up," Ryan explained. "Try to be as fast as possible." The test began. Red lights flashed randomly across a panel. Jake's hands moved in a blur, hitting every button the instant it lit up. The machine beeped frantically, trying to keep up. "Faster," Dr. Moreland called out. "I want to see your maximum speed." The lights flashed quicker. Jake's movements became so fast his hands were difficult to follow. The machine started making error sounds. "I think it's broken," Jake said, stopping. Dr. Moreland checked the readings. "It's not broken. You're just too fast for it to measure. The machine is designed for reaction times down to 1/100th of a second. You're reacting faster than that." "Is that good or bad?" "It's incredible. Fighter pilots train for years to reach half your speed." Captain Vex was starting to understand something important. This ancient human was not just strong. He was built for combat in ways that modern people could not match. "Let's try the endurance test," she suggested. The endurance test used a treadmill. That could increase speed and incline. Most crew members could run for 20 minutes at moderate pace before getting tired. Jake stepped onto the machine. "How fast does this go?" "Up to 30 miles per hour with a 45-degree incline." Dr. Moreland replied. 30 miles per hour? That's barely jogging speed." Ryan looked confused. "Jake, 30 miles per hour is faster than most land vehicles on peaceful worlds." Things really have changed." Jake started running. The machine began at 5 miles per hour. He looked bored. 10 miles per hour, 15, 20, 25, 30. He was barely breathing hard. "Increase the incline," Dr. Moreland ordered. The treadmill angled upward like Jake was running up a steep hill. The machine groaned under the stress. Jake kept running at full speed like he was on flat ground. "How long can you keep this up?" Captain Vex asked. "All day if I need to," Jake replied without slowing down. On Earth, Marines had to be able to march 50 miles carrying full gear. This is like a warm-up. 20 minutes passed. 30, 40, Jake's breathing was still steady and calm. The machine started making warning sounds about overheating. I think that's enough, Dr. Moreland said. The equipment can't handle much more. Jake stepped off the treadmill. He was not even sweating. Good warm-up? You got anything for real exercise? The crew members watching through the windows were talking excitedly among themselves. They had never seen anything like this. Even the strongest species in the galaxy could not match what they had just witnessed. Jake, Captain Vex said carefully, what you just did is physically impossible according to everything we know about biology. Maybe your biology is different from mine? Dr. Moreland was studying his scans frantically. Your body is producing energy at rates that should be lethal. Your muscles are working at efficiency levels that violate known physics. And your bones should have shattered under the stress you just put them through. But they didn't, Jake pointed out. No, they didn't. They got stronger. Ryan sat down heavily in a chair. Jake, I need to ask you something. Were all humans like you back then? Jake thought about it. The Marines were pretty tough, but regular. Folks were strong too. They had to be. Life was hard. How hard? Well, my dad worked construction. He could carry steel beams that weighed 300 pounds. My mom was a nurse. She worked 18-hour shifts during the water riots, carrying injured people to safety. My little sister was only 16, but she could outrun the police when they tried to arrest protesters. Captain Vex felt her understanding of human history changing. Jake, when you say life was hard, you mean everyone had to be physically strong just to survive? Pretty much. The weak died young. The strong lived long enough to have kids. After 50 years of that, I guess we all got pretty tough. Dr. Moreland was reading his tablet with growing excitement. This explains everything. Natural selection under extreme pressure. Only the strongest humans survived long enough to reproduce. Over 2 generations, the entire species adapted. But modern humans aren't like that, Ryan said. Because modern humans live easy lives, Jake replied. No offense, Ryan. Easy is good. It means you succeeded. You built the world my generation dreamed of. At the cost of losing what made you special, Captain Vex observed. Jake shrugged. Not lost, just sleeping. Push any human hard enough and the old strength will wake up. It's still there in your genes. An alarm suddenly echoed through the ship. Red lights flashed in the corridors. Captain Vex's communicator buzzed with urgent messages. Captain to the bridge immediately, came the voice of Commander Torn. We have a situation. Captain Vex ran for the door. What kind of situation? Distress signal, Captain. A civilian transport under attack by raiders. They're requesting immediate assistance. Jake followed them toward the bridge. Raiders? What kind of raiders? Corvan pirates, Ryan explained as they ran. They attack merchant ships and steal cargo. Usually they just take what they want and leave. Usually? Sometimes they take prisoners to sell as slaves. Jake's expression changed. The casual, friendly man vanished. In his place was something cold and dangerous. How many people on the transport? The distress signal said 300 passengers, Captain Vex replied as they reached the bridge. On the main screen, they could see the civilian ship Harmony surrounded by 6 dark raider vessels. The transport was large but defenseless. The raider ships were smaller but covered with weapons. They're demanding the cargo, Commander Torn reported. Rare minerals worth millions. If the transport doesn't surrender in 10 minutes, the raiders will start killing passengers. Captain Vex studied the tactical display. The Meridian was a research ship with only basic defensive weapons. Against 6 raider ships, they had no chance. Can we call for help? She asked. The nearest military vessel is 6 hours away, Commander. Torn replied. Jake stood behind the captain's chair, watching the screen. The old Marine was calculating distances, weapon positions, and tactical options with the speed of long training. Captain, he said quietly, how many people are in your crew? 43. Why? Because I can save the 300 people on that transport, but I'll need your help. Captain Vex turned to look at him. Jake Morrison no longer looked like a man from the past. He looked like exactly what he was. A warrior who had spent his life protecting people who could not protect themselves. "What do you need?" she asked. Jake smiled, but it was not a nice smile. It was the smile of a predator who had found prey. "Just get me close enough," he said. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Meridian watching the 6 raider ships surround the helpless transport. The civilian vessel Harmony was 3 times larger than any of the attackers, but it had no weapons. It was built to carry passengers and cargo, not fight wars. "Can you get me to their ship?" Jake asked Captain Vex. "Jake, those are Corvin raiders," she replied. "They're killers. Their ships have heavy armor and powerful weapons. Even if we could get you aboard one ship, there are 5 others. I only need to get to one ship to start with." Dr. Moreland was scanning the raider vessels. "Jake, those ships are designed for war. The hulls are 2 feet thick. The airlock doors are reinforced steel. You can't just break in." Jake looked at the doctor with a calm expression. "Doc, you've been measuring my strength for the past hour. Do you really think 2 feet of metal will stop me?" On the main screen, they could see the raiders sending another message to the transport. The translation appeared in text at the bottom. 10 minutes to surrender or we start spacing passengers." Ryan Blake felt sick. Spacing meant throwing people out of airlocks into the vacuum of space. It was the cruelest way to kill someone. "Jake, even if you could get aboard their ships, they'll just shoot you," Ryan said. "Let me worry about that," Jake replied. He turned to Captain Vex. "Do you have any kind of spacesuit that might fit me?" "We have emergency suits in the cargo bay. But Jake, they're not designed for combat. They're just for basic protection." That's all I need." Captain Vex made a decision that went against all her training. "Commander Torn, take us closer to the raider formation. Make it look like we're trying to negotiate." "Captain, if they see us as a threat, they'll destroy us, Commander," Torn warned. "Then make sure they don't see us as a threat." 10 minutes later, Jake stood in the cargo bay wearing a makeshift spacesuit. Chief Engineer Lisa Carter had worked frantically to modify the emergency gear for his larger frame. The suit was basic. Protection with a small oxygen supply and simple maneuvering thrusters. "This will give you maybe 30 minutes of air," Carter explained. "The thrusters are weak. You'll have to use momentum and gravity to move around out there." 30 minutes. "Should be enough," Jake said. He picked up a metal crowbar from the tool rack. In his hands, the heavy steel bar looked like a toy. Dr. Morlan ran one last scan. "Jake, your body is producing adrenaline at levels that would kill most species. Are you sure you're ready for this?" "Doc, I've been ready for this my whole life." "Captain." Vex opened a communication channel to the raider ships. "This is Captain Vex of the research vessel Meridian. We request permission to dock and negotiate for the passengers." The raider commander's face appeared on screen. He was a typical Corvin with gray skin, black eyes, and sharp teeth. "Research ship, you have nothing we want. Leave now or be destroyed. We're carrying valuable scientific equipment. Perhaps we can make a trade." While Captain Vex kept the raiders talking, Jake moved to the cargo bay doors. Through the window, he could see the nearest raider ship about half a mile away. It was a dark, ugly vessel covered with weapon turrets and sensor arrays. "Opening cargo bay doors," Chief Engineer Carter announced quietly. The doors slid open with no sound in the vacuum of space. Jake stood at the edge, looking out at the raider ship. To everyone watching, it seemed impossible that one man could cross that distance and do any damage to a warship, but Jake Morrison was not like other men. He activated his thrusters and launched himself into space. The small jets pushed him away from the Meridian toward the raider ship. He moved through the darkness like a missile, using small bursts from the thrusters to adjust his course. The raiders were too busy watching the Meridian to notice one small figure floating toward them through the debris field. Jake reached the raider ship's hull in less than 5 minutes. The metal surface was dark and cold under his gloved hands. He could feel the vibrations of engines and life support systems running inside. He found what he was looking for. an airlock on the side of the ship away from the other raiders. The door was thick steel designed to keep the vacuum of space outside and the atmosphere inside. Jake positioned himself carefully and raised the crowbar. Then he brought it down on the airlock door with all his strength. The impact made no sound in space, but Jake felt the shock wave through his suit. The steel door cracked down the middle. He hit it again and again. On the fourth strike, the door split completely. Atmosphere rushed out of the ship in a white cloud of frozen air. Emergency alarms started flashing inside the raider vessel. Jake pulled himself through the broken doorway into the ship's corridor. The emergency systems had sealed off this section to prevent the whole ship from losing air. He was inside. The corridor was dark and narrow, with pipes and cables running along the walls. Jake moved quickly toward the front of the ship, where the bridge would be. His boots made heavy sounds on the metal floor. He passed several compartments full of stolen cargo. Boxes of food, medical supplies, and electronics taken from other ships. In one room, he saw something that made his jaw clench with anger: cages. Empty now, but clearly designed to hold prisoners. These raiders were slavers. Jake reached a junction where the corridor split in two directions. He could hear voices coming from the left passage. Corvan voices talking quickly and loudly. He followed the sound and found 3 raiders trying to repair the damaged airlock. They were wearing emergency masks and carrying welding equipment. When they saw Jake, they stopped working and stared. Jake was a terrifying sight. A large figure in a damaged spacesuit holding a bent crowbar. With cold fury in his dark eyes, the first raider reached for his weapon. Jake moved faster than the alien could think. The crowbar connected with the raider's head and the corvan dropped without a sound. The second raider got his gun halfway out of its holster before Jake's fist hit him in the chest. The blow lifted the alien off his feet and sent him crashing into the wall. He did not get up. The third raider turned to run. Jake caught him in 2 steps and threw him back down the corridor. The corvan slid 20 feet before stopping in an unconscious heap. Jake continued toward the bridge. He passed more crew members, but they were too shocked to react quickly. The sight of a human tearing through their ship with his bare hands was beyond their understanding. The bridge was a cramped room full of weapon controls and communication equipment. 5 corvans were working at various stations. The captain was a large male with scars on his face and arms. "What is that thing?" one of the crew members yelled when Jake appeared in the doorway. The captain grabbed a plasma rifle from a wall mount. "Kill it!" Jake moved before anyone could fire. He crossed the bridge in one leap and landed next to the captain. His hand closed around the plasma rifle and crushed it like paper. Sparks flew from the destroyed weapon. The captain swung a clawed fist at Jake's head. Jake caught the arm and twisted. There was a sharp crack as bones broke. The captain screamed and fell to his knees. "Listen to me," Jake said in a voice that carried absolute authority. "You're going to recall your other ships and leave this system. Now. Never." The captain snarled through his pain. "We are Corvan raiders. We bow to no one." Jake picked up the captain by his throat and held him in the air with one hand. "You bow to me." The other crew members on the bridge stared in terror. They had never seen anyone overpower their captain so easily. "Send the recall signal," Jake ordered the communications officer. "I cannot," the officer replied. "The captain must give the order." Jake looked at the captain dangling from his grip. "Give the order." "No." Jake carried the captain to the main view screen where the other raider ships could see them. He activated the communication system. "This is Jake Morrison addressing all raider vessels," he said calmly. "Your captain is my prisoner. Your ship is under my control. You have 60 seconds to break off your attack and leave this system." On the screen, he could see the commanders of the other raider ships staring in shock. One of them started laughing. "Human, you are 1 man on 1 ship. We are 5 ships with crews of 20 each. Surrender now and we will kill you quickly." Jake smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. 60 seconds just became 30. He threw the raider captain across the bridge. The corvan hit the wall hard and slumped to the floor unconscious. "Communications officer, show me your weapons control system." Why would I do that? Because if you don't, I'm going to start breaking things, and I promise you won't like what I break first. The terrified officer pointed to a control panel covered with buttons and switches. Jake studied it for a moment. Then he began pushing buttons at random outside the ship. The weapon turrets started firing in all directions. Energy beams lanced out toward the other raider vessels. Most of the shots missed, but several found their targets. "What are you doing?" the communications officer screamed. "Learning," Jake replied. He continued pressing controls until he figured out how to aim the weapons properly. The other raider ships started firing back. Energy blasts hit the hull around them. The ship shook under the impacts. "They're shooting at us," another crew member yelled. "Then I suggest you convince them to stop," Jake said. He had found the main weapons trigger. The ship's largest gun swiveled toward the nearest raider vessel. Jake fired. The energy beam punched through the other ship's armor like it was paper. 3 days after the raider attack, Jake Morrison sat in the observation deck of the Meridian looking out at the stars. His makeshift spacesuit had been replaced with normal clothes. The cuts and bruises from his fight with the Corvan raiders were already healing. Captain Vex found him there, staring into the endless darkness of space. "How are you feeling?" she asked, sitting down beside him. "Tired," Jake replied honestly. "It's been a long few days?" The crew of the Harmony sent a message. "They want to thank you personally. 300 people owe you their lives." Jake shrugged. "Just doing my job." "Your job ended 300 years ago, Jake." He looked at her with those dark, serious eyes. "No, Captain, my job never ends. As long as there are innocent people who need protection, Marines like me have work to do." Dr. Moreland entered the observation deck carrying his ever-present tablet. "Jake, I've been analyzing the recordings from your battle with the Raiders. What you did should have been impossible." "Which part?" "All of it. Breaking through a reinforced airlock with a crowbar. Overpowering trained soldiers without weapons. Learning to operate alien technology in minutes. Fighting in a damaged spacesuit with limited oxygen." Jake smiled slightly. "Doc, you keep saying things are impossible, but I keep doing them anyway." "Maybe your idea of impossible needs updating." Ryan Blake joined them, looking troubled. "Jake, word of what you did is spreading through the galaxy. The Galactic Council wants to meet with you." "What do they want?" "They're not sure," Captain Vex admitted. "Some council members are excited. They see you as proof that humans have hidden potential. Others are worried." "Worried about what?" "About what happens when a species that was thought to be peaceful turns out to have warriors like you." Jake considered this. "Are they afraid of me?" "Some of them, yes." "Good," Jake said quietly. "Fear keeps people honest. But they don't need to be afraid unless they're planning to hurt innocent folks." Dr. Moreland sat down across from them. "Jake, I've been studying human history since you woke up. The records from Earth show that your kind of strength was normal for humans in your time. But modern humans have lost those abilities." "Not lost," Jake corrected. "Sleeping, like I was sleeping." "What do you mean?" "Ryan here could be as strong as me if he needed to be. All humans could. The strength is still in your genes. You just haven't needed it for a few generations." Ryan looked skeptical. "Jake, I could never do what you did against those raiders." "Not the way you are now?" "No. But if someone threatened people you cared about, if you had no choice but to fight, your body would remember. It might take time and training, but the warrior is still there inside every human." Captain Vex found this idea both fascinating and terrifying. "So you're saying all humans could become like you? With the right motivation and training?" "Yes. We're all descended from the same stock. The people who survived long enough to leave Earth were tough. Their children are tough too, even if they don't know it yet." A communication alert sounded through the ship. Commander Torn's voice came over the speakers. "Captain, we're receiving a priority message from Galactic Council headquarters. Put it through to the observation deck." Captain Vex replied. The wall screen activated, showing a chamber filled with representatives from dozens of species. In the center sat Chancellor Corix, a wise old being who had led the council for 40 years. Captain Vex, we understand you have recovered a human from the ancient period, Chancellor Corax said. His voice was calm, but Jake could hear the tension underneath. Yes, Chancellor, this is Jake Morrison. Jake stood up and faced the screen. Dozens of alien eyes studied him with mixtures of curiosity and concern. Mr. Morrison, we have received reports of your recent actions against Corvan raiders. The reports seem almost unbelievable. What do you want to know, Chancellor? Are you truly capable of the feats described? Single-handedly capturing a warship and forcing 6 raider vessels to retreat? Yes. The simple answer sent murmurs through the council chamber. Several representatives whispered to each other in their native languages. And are other humans from your time period equally capable? Jake thought about his fellow Marines sleeping in cryopods throughout the galaxy. The soldiers were. The workers and civilians were strong too, but in different ways. Mr. Morrison, the Galactic Council has maintained peace for over a century through careful balance of power. No single species has been allowed to dominate others through superior military might. Sounds like a good system, Chancellor. It is. But your abilities could upset that balance. Some council members believe you represent a threat to galactic stability. Jake's expression hardened. Chancellor, I've been awake for less than a week. In that time, I've saved 300 innocent people from raiders. If that makes me a threat to your stability, maybe your stability isn't worth preserving. The council chamber erupted in angry voices. Some representatives demanded Jake's imprisonment. Others called for further study. A few argued for leaving him alone. Chancellor Corax raised his hand for silence. Mr. Morrison, we are not your enemies. But we must consider the implications of your existence. What do you want from us? Jake was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of 3 centuries of loss. I want you to help me find my people. There are other colony ships out there with humans like me in cryosleep. Ships that failed to reach their destinations. Ships that got lost or damaged like mine did. I want to find them and wake them up. To what purpose? To give them the choice I never had. The choice to live in the peaceful galaxy you've built. But also to be ready if that peace ever needs defending. Dr. Moreland leaned forward. Chancellor, if I may, Mr. Morrison represents an incredible opportunity for scientific advancement. Studying his physiology could benefit all species. I'm not a lab rat, Doc, Jake said firmly. No, but you could help us understand human potential. Maybe help modern humans rediscover their own strength. Captain Vex stood up. Chancellor, I recommend we accept Mr. Morrison's proposal. Help him find other ancient humans in exchange for his cooperation with our security forces. Our security forces? The galaxy isn't as peaceful as we like to think, Captain Vex continued. Raider attacks are increasing. There are rumors of hostile species beyond our borders. We could use someone with Mr. Morrison's abilities. Chancellor. Corax studied Jake carefully. What would you require from us, Mr. Morrison? Ships to search for colony vessels. Access to historical records about Earth's evacuation. And permission to wake up any humans we find? And in return, I'll help train your security forces. Share what I know about combat and tactics. And if real threats emerge, threats you're peaceful. Methods can't handle, I'll fight for the innocent people of this galaxy. The council chamber buzzed with discussion. Representatives argued in a dozen languages about the wisdom of this arrangement. Finally, Chancellor Corax spoke again. Mr. Morrison, we will consider your proposal, but we have conditions. I'm listening. Any ancient humans you wake must undergo evaluation to ensure they can adapt to our peaceful society. They cannot be allowed to destabilize our carefully maintained balance. Jake's jaw tightened. Chancellor, you're talking about my people. My fellow soldiers and workers. They're not animals to be evaluated. They're human beings who deserve freedom. Freedom, yes. But freedom comes with responsibility. Can you guarantee that other ancient humans will share your protective instincts? That they won't become conquerors instead of guardians? Jake thought about his fellow Marines sleeping in the cold darkness of space. Men and women who had sworn to protect the innocent and defend the helpless. People who had given up everything to save humanity's future. I can't guarantee anything about individuals, Jake said finally, but I can tell you what we were trained for. What we believed in? We were taught that strength exists to protect the weak, that freedom is something you fight for, not something you take from others. Pretty words, Mr. Morrison, but history shows that powerful beings often become corrupted by their power. Jake smiled grimly. Chancellor, you want to know the difference between humans from my time and the conquerors you're worried about? Yes, we already had the power to conquer. Earth was a world of 8 billion people. If we wanted to be tyrants, we could have been. Instead, we spent our strength trying to save as many as possible when our world was dying. We put the innocent on the first ships out. We stayed behind to fight the disasters and buy time for others to escape. The council chamber fell silent. We're not conquerors, Chancellor. We're guardians. And this galaxy of yours, this peaceful civilization you've built, it's exactly what we died trying to create. Chancellor Corix was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was softer. Very well, Mr. Morrison. The council will vote on your proposal. If it passes, we will help you find your people. Thank you, Chancellor. But understand this. If any of the humans you wake prove to be a threat to galactic peace, you will be held responsible. Jake nodded solemnly. Understood? But Chancellor, you should also understand something? What is that? If anyone threatens the innocent people, under my protection, they'll have to go through me first. And after 300 years of sleep, I'm feeling pretty well rested.